Beneath the surface of our oceans lies a world we were never meant to see, a realm where light dies and life takes on forms that shouldn't be possible. As we descend deeper, crossing the sunlight zone, then the twilight zone, then the midnight zone, the creatures we encounter turn progressively stranger.
Deep into Twilight Zone, we encounter the ocean's most numerous residents, the lanternfish. Small, silver, and seemingly ordinary, they account for over half of all fish biomass in the deep sea. But their true power lies in their name. Rows of light-producing organs called photophores line their bellies like constellations. By adjusting this glow to perfectly match the faint sunlight filtering down from the surface, they erase their own silhouettes, vanishing from the eyes of predators below. This is counter-illumination, camouflage created by light itself. At night, they rise in the billions to feed near the surface, a living, glowing wave that drives the largest migration on Earth. So dense are their numbers that naval sonar once mistook them for a shifting seafloor, a false bottom rising and falling with the sun. They are the essential link between the sunlit world and the dark abyss, transporting energy down into the deep, a tiny, shimmering engine keeping the ocean alive. Drifting nearby, we find a creature that looks less like a fish and more like a discarded blade, the hatchetfish. Its body is impossibly thin, a razor of silver compressed to slip through the water unnoticed. If you were to look at it head-on, it would almost disappear, a mere sliver in the darkness. But its true genius lies in its gaze. The hatchetfish possesses large tubular eyes that are locked permanently upwards, scanning the faint light above like a pair of spectral binoculars. It hangs motionless in the twilight, a hunter of shadows, waiting for the telltale silhouette of prey drifting overhead against the dim surface. To avoid becoming prey itself, it too masters the art of light. The photophores along its belly adjust their brightness to match the downwelling sun, rendering the fish invisible to predators stalking from below. With its downturned mouth and hollow, staring eyes, it wears a mask of perpetual sorrow. It is a ghost in the machine of the ocean, a living optical illusion. Perfectly adapted to a life of vertical ambush, it exists as a silver phantom, forever watching the sky of the deep. Descending further, we meet a creature that seems less like an animal and more like a physiological impossibility, the gulper eel. Often called the pelican eel, it is an anatomy defined by a single overwhelming hunger. Its body is frail, almost skeletal, dominated by a mouth so massive it defies logic. The jaws are hinged to swing wide, allowing it to swallow prey much larger than itself, a necessary adaptation in a world where a meal might appear only once a year. When it strikes, its stomach expands like a massive water-filled balloon, engulfing fish, squid, or shrimp in a single desperate gulp. But it is not just a passive trap. At the tip of its whip-like tail glows a pink, bioluminescent lure. In the crushing darkness, it dances like a beacon, drawing curious prey closer, straight into the void of those waiting jaws. It is a wandering stomach, a silent assassin of the deep, surviving on the edge of starvation in a world where every encounter could be its last. Descending into the midnight shadows, we meet a predator that seems pulled from a fever dream, the viperfish. Its appearance is pure menace. A long, slender body leads to a jaw that unhinges, revealing fangs so long they cannot even fit inside its own mouth. These needle-like teeth curve back towards its eyes, forming a cage from which no prey can escape. It hunts by hanging motionless in the water column, a silent assassin waiting for a mistake. To lure its victims, it uses a glowing photophore at the end of a long dorsal spine, dangling it in front of its face like a fishing lure. In the crushing dark, curious fish or shrimp investigate the light, only to be impaled by a sudden, violent strike. Despite its terrifying visage, the viperfish is surprisingly small, rarely growing longer than a foot. Yet, in a world where every meal is a battle for survival, it is a giant in ferocity, a living trap set in the eternal night.
We have now crossed the invisible line into the midnight zone, 1,000 meters down. Here, the sun is a distant memory. The water is pitch black, hovering just above freezing, and the pressure is crushing, strong enough to snap bone. In this void, eyes are almost useless, unless they are looking for a spark in the dark. And out of the gloom, a single light appears. It is not a star, nor a guide. It is a trap set by the anglerfish. She is the ambush predator of the abyss. From her forehead extends a modified spine, a fishing rod tipped with a glowing lure of bioluminescent bacteria. In the emptiness, curious prey are drawn to the only light they will ever see, swimming straight into a cage of translucent, needle-sharp teeth. But her existence is even stranger than her appearance. In the vast dark, finding a mate is nearly impossible. So when a tiny male finds a female, he bites onto her, fusing his flesh with hers forever. His eyes dissolve, his organs wither, and he becomes a permanent part of her body. Two lives merged into one, a parasite and a host, surviving together in the crushing solitude of the deep. Deeper still prowls a creature that looks like it was carved from nightmares, the Fangtooth. Despite being only the size of a grapefruit, it holds a Fangtooth is a tank. Heavily armored and built for active hunting, it relies on contact. In the pitch black, it bumps into prey, sensing movement with a highly developed lateral line rather than sight. It is the ogre of the abyss, a brute force in a delicate world. With scales like armor and a cage of bone for a mouth, it rules the dark through sheer intimidation. Drifting in the void, we encounter a shape that looks less like biology and more like a wandering spirit, the Magna Pinna squid. Also known as the big fin, it is perhaps the most alien sight in the ocean. Its massive fins flutter like ghostly wings, but the true horror and wonder hangs below. Its arms are bent at bizarre 90-degree angles, creating elbows that trail filaments stretching meters into the darkness. It does not swim so much as hover, a silent puppet suspended in the deep. Scientists believe these dragging tentacles are a living net, waiting to snag anything that drifts into their path. It is a creature of absolute stillness, a sentinel of the abyss, watching with eyes we cannot see, waiting for a touch in the eternal night. Drifting through the oxygen-starved depths is a relic with a name that drips with horror, the vampire squid. Its scientific name, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, translates to the vampire squid from hell. With eyes that burn like blue opals and a body the color of dried blood, it wraps itself in a velvety cloak of webbing that connects its arms. But appearances here are the ultimate deception. It is not a predator at all. It is a gentle scavenger, the only cephalopod that does not hunt living prey. Instead, it unfurls two long, sticky filaments to catch marine snow, the falling debris of the ocean above. When threatened, it performs a bizarre ballet, turning its cloak inside out to expose rows of fleshy spines, transforming into a spiky, unappetizing ball. A living fossil from before the time of dinosaurs, it is a pacifist in a war zone, surviving in the suffocating dark where almost nothing else can breathe. We have reached the bottom of the world, the abyssal zone. Here on the endless plains of sediment, there are no rocks, no plants, only mud stretching for thousands of miles. Yet standing in the silence, a figure waits, the tripod fish. It does not swim. Instead, it perches on three elongated fins that have stiffened into stilts, holding it motionless above the soft ooze. It stands facing the current, a living antenna in the dark. Blind to the world around it, it extends its pectoral fins like sensitive whiskers, feeling for the microscopic vibrations of prey drifting by. It is the ultimate patient hunter. It can stand here perfectly still for days at a time. A sentinel of the mud. A lonely statue on the ocean floor, waiting for a meal that may never come. Across the silent mud, a nightmare walks on stilts, the giant sea spider. It is a creature of pure geometry, legs that stretch endlessly, joined by a body so small it barely exists. This is deep-sea gigantism at its most unsettling. While its shallow water cousins are the size of a fingernail, here in the abyss, they can grow to span more than 2 feet, the size of a dinner plate. It is so thin that nature had to improvise. There is no room in its tiny torso for organs, so its stomach and reproductive system are packed inside its legs. It pumps blood by swinging its limbs, a living hydraulic system striding over the sediment. It breathes through its skin and eats by sucking the fluids from soft corals, a skeleton that walks, stalking the darkness on legs that should not be possible. At the very edge of existence, where the pressure is equivalent to an elephant standing on your thumb, we find the impossible, the abyssal snailfish. It does not look like a champion of the deep. It has no scales, no armor, and no terrifying teeth. It is a pale, translucent tadpole, a ghost of pink gelatin.
Its skin is so thin, you can see its liver through its side. To survive the crushing weight of 5 miles of water, it has abandoned biology as we know it. It has no air bladder to collapse, its bones are not fully calcified, they are flexible cartilage. And its cells are packed with a unique molecule that stops its proteins from warping under pressure. It is the deepest living fish ever discovered, a fragile paradox thriving in a hellscape where even nuclear submarines would be crushed like soda cans. In the deepest trenches, where the pressure is enough to crush a submarine, we find a creature that defies the horror of the abyss, the Dumbo octopus. Named for the ear-like fins that flap slowly above its eyes, it moves with a grace that seems impossible here. It does not jet through the water like its shallow cousins, it hovers, a spectral ballet in the crushing dark. But do not mistake its cuteness for weakness. It is the deepest living octopus known to science. To survive, it has abandoned ink sacs and camouflage, useless tools in the eternal night. Instead, it swallows its prey whole, pouncing on worms and crustaceans in the silt. A gentle phantom, soft, silent, and enduring, proving that even in hell there is room for grace. We have reached the bottom of the trench, the Hadao Zone. Named for the underworld, this is the deepest frontier on Earth. 6,000 meters, 7,000, 8,000. Here, where the pressure is like an elephant standing on your thumb, we find the current record holder for the deepest living fish, the Hadao snailfish. It defies every expectation of a deep-sea monster. It has no giant teeth, no armor, no terrifying glow. It is small, pink, and translucent. A delicate tadpole in a world of crushing force. To survive pressure that would pulverize a tank, its body is entirely fluid. It has no scales. Its bones are flexible cartilage. It relies on a special chemical in its cells to stop its proteins from warping under the weight of the ocean. It is the ghost of the trenches, a fragile miracle thriving where life should not exist. Scuttling across the trench floor, we find a creature that turns the laws of scale upside down, the giant amphipod. In the world above, amphipods are tiny, barely visible shrimp-like creatures darting through seaweed. But here, in the crushing depths of the Hadal Zone, something strange happens. They do not shrink, they grow. This is the ultimate example of abyssal gigantism. Shielded by a tough, flexible exoskeleton, these scavengers can grow to the size of a rabbit, over a foot long. They are the vultures of the trenches, swarming in the hundreds to strip a falling carcass to the bone in hours. Monsters of the mud, proof that in the deep, the normal rules of size do not apply. Scattered across the floor of the deepest trenches, we find structures that look like delicate sponges or folded piles of dust, the xenophyophores. But these are not animals, they are not plants. They are the titans of the microscopic world. While a human cell is invisible to the naked eye, a single xenophyophore can grow to the size of a grapefruit. It is the largest single-celled organism in existence, one cell stretching 4 inches across the abyss, containing thousands of nuclei. They are so fragile they crumble at the slightest touch, yet they thrive under pressure that would crush steel. They are living contradictions, the giants of the microbial world building palaces out of silt in the deepest gutters of the earth. Dominating the sediment, we find the unexpected kings of the abyss, the deep-sea cucumbers. In the shallows, their cousins are motionless lumps, but here they have evolved into something almost unrecognizable. Known as sea pigs, they look like swollen pink water balloons on legs. These legs are actually inflated tube feet, allowing them to march across the ooze in search of food. They are not solitary, they gather in vast herds, hundreds strong, all facing the current like cattle grazing on a silent field. Others, like the headless chicken monster, have even learned to swim, drifting through the dark with a ghostly bioluminescent grace. They are the vacuum cleaners of the trench, the overwhelming majority of life on the ocean floor, silently processing the wastes of the world, turning death back into life.